Thank you. The September 11th attacks shook this country. Both of you would bring the U.S. troops home from Iraq and perhaps Afghanistan. What would your response have been to those September 11th attacks? And is there a role for the military, and what past uses of the military would you have supported in this country?
It's a jam-packed question, Rob. I'll do my best. But I think it's important to understand that the horrific, tragic acts of September 11th were acts of mass murder. They were criminal acts of individuals. They were not the acts of the nation-state of Afghanistan. As a lawyer, I understand that when criminal acts are conducted, that you need to investigate vigorously, and then you need to bring before a competent court of justice, and then prosecute the alleged wrongdoers and implement justice. It's interesting that there is such a jurisdiction. It's called the International Court of Justice, but unfortunately, thanks to the corporate Democrat and Republican parties, the United States government is not participating in it. So the acts of September 11th were horrific criminal acts, not the acts of the nation-state of Afghanistan. Therefore, it was inappropriate, illegitimate, illegal under international law, and unconstitutional under the Constitution of the United States for George W. Bush to order the bombings of Afghanistan. There is a role, thank you. There is a role for the military, as I've described earlier. The Green Party understands the need for a defensive military, and we support a defensive military. But we do not agree that the United States military should be used to promote and protect the transnational worldwide corporate empire that it currently does. There is an empire, folks, and we know it, but it's not an American empire based on American values of liberty, justice, and equality. It's a corporate empire based on corporate values. We're talking about fundamentally transforming U.S. foreign policy, so we need your support and vote for the Green Party to make that change happen.
Mr. Badnarik.
I am happy to agree with almost everything that Mr. Cobb has said. Again, the tragedy of September 11th was a crime, a mass murder. It was not a war. And libertarians are often accused of being pacifists. That doesn't make any sense to me. Do you guys remember that we are the ones that promote the Second Amendment? We think you should be able to walk around with a gun either carried or openly. How could we possibly be pacifists? However, we only retaliate against the people who have attacked us. And to the best of my knowledge, it was Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. We can use whatever force is appropriate to go after the people who perpetrated that atrocity, but sending 150,000 troops to Iraq who did not attack us and who had no direct connection with September 11th is totally immoral, un-American, and unconstitutional. The only thing that I would choose to disagree with Mr. Cobb about would be the International Criminal Court. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 gives Congress the right to declare war and to issue letters of marque and reprisal. We do not need world opinion to protect ourselves.
Maybe I'll just do my 30-second follow-ups on that, too, because it was a jam-packed question. First, for you, Mr. Badnarik, if we do not have something like the International Criminal Court or perhaps a strong United Nations, and other countries perceive that our citizens have damaged them, could we get into a chaotic situation where countries or people from different countries are going into other countries and sort of policing things the way they thought should happen? And how would you respond to that possibility?
Well, basically, that's the definition of war, when two countries are basically deciding who owns things. And over the course of history, basically kings and emperors have owned land. They own the entire country, and their power has always been measured by how much land they own. Ergo, there have been constant battles and wars over history to acquire more and more land. The United States has a constitution that allows us to do national defense. It does not authorize us to do international offense. We have no constitutional authority whatsoever to run around the world and be the policeman of the world. Well, as a libertarian, we hope to follow George Washington's advice that he gave us during the farewell address. And that advice was that we should have economic ties with all countries and entangling alliances with none. What that would mean today is that we would open up free markets to all countries that would improve our economy, raise their standard of living, and dramatically reduce the probability that other countries would bite the hand that feeds them. Furthermore, we have our military in 135 countries around the world. We are using our military might to influence other governments, influence other economies, and politically, we are poking other countries in the eye with a sharp stick. We need to bring our troops home from around the world. If we as Americans want to be left alone to live as Americans, we have an obligation to allow other countries to organize their governments the way they want to, whether we like the way they do it or not.
And I guess as my follow-up to you, Mr. Cobb, on relating to that is, in the response to September 11th, were there actions that you believe should have been taken that weren't taken? And I also would be interested to see your views on the role of international institutions as opposed to Mr. Badnarik.
Well, I'm glad for the opportunity for the follow-up, because we don't know what really happened leading up to September 11th, do we? The Green Party says we will always tell the truth to the American people, and we want our elected representatives to tell us the truth. We want to know what actually happened in the events leading up to September 11th. We need to know the truth. So the thing that wasn't done immediately after September 11th was an immediate and thorough investigation into exactly what events preceded it, how did it happen. The commission that was finally convened was woefully inadequate. It had no ability to actually find out what really happened, and we still don't know what really happened. That is chilling to me. Secondly, I just want to point out how horrific it was in the wake of that tragedy and the American people really coming together in a moment of compassion, because it wasn't just Americans in the World Trade Center, but that was really a worldwide disaster. People from all over the world were killed in that mass murder action, and George W. Bush's response was to go shopping. He told America to go shopping, rather than to take this moment to understand what the core issues are about foreign policy, to take a moment to understand what connects us as human beings. So that's what should have been done, is an investigation and an opportunity. In terms of international relations, I'm proud of the role that the Green Party is playing of actually building international community. The Green Party is, in fact, a worldwide political party. I support the United Nations. I support the International Court. I support actually strengthening international ties throughout the world.